everybody, welcome to the High Path channel. If you're new, my name is Rosa and we are a plant-based family of 7, and welcome to our humble, very realistic kitchen. So today I wanted to really just talk to you about our schedule change, because we've always been putting out 3 videos as much as possible, 3 videos a week. So starting next week, we have a goal that we are trying to achieve. I am going to be working a little bit more, so I am not going to have as much time to, of course, do YouTube as much as I want to. Of course, I will continue to try and get videos out for you and try to, motivate you and give you some cooking inspiration. But for right now, we are going to stick to about 1 to 2 videos a week because I am working extra and because time is very limited right now. I'm going to try to film and put out 1 to 2 videos a week. This is going to be a step towards our goal because we are, like I said, just working a lot more, Trey and I, and the kids have school, and I'm trying to just really do some good time management and planning. So just letting you know up front what to expect from this channel from now. Now, with that said, our schedules are going to change a little bit. Because I'm going to work a little bit more, we are planning to do meal preps every single week so we can get most of our cooking and chopping done throughout the week. So that way we're not thinking about what's for dinner, what's for lunch, and all of that. I want to make sure that everything is made and laid out for the whole week. So our grocery days have changed. Our cooking days are going to change as well. Our cooking strategies are going to change, and I would love for you to join us, and I would love to take you along this journey with us. So let's get in the kitchen and let's meal prep. To start off with our meal prep, this is going to hopefully last for the whole week. That is my plan. I am going to have to prepare lunches for Trey because he's going to go to work. He is going into the office to work. He's no longer working at home. So I want to make sure that I'm prepped for all of his lunches and breakfasts. And then we will be ready and set for the morning time. He leaves pretty early, so as much prep work as I can do right now, it'll help out so much because he just wakes up so early and we have to get him out of the door early into the office. So my plan is to chop all of our roasting vegetables and put them in Ziploc bags. That way they're done and prepped and seasoned as well, ready to go, so I can just pour it onto a baking sheet and then he's off to work. So let's chop up some vegetables. We've got some cauliflower and broccoli. These are our usual suspects for when we are prepping or cooking for Trey's lunches. And then I'm also going to do some prep for zoodles as well. So I've got some cauliflower and broccoli. I'm going to start on chopping up. I need to grab some cashews, please. We're going to start boiling that. So what time is it, by the way? It's 12:30. We're gonna get everything in our Ziplocs. I'm gonna do it as fast as possible. Now, I've never done a meal prep where we are prepping for the whole week, so that's actually a challenge for me. Whenever I'm chopping or kind of preparing cauliflower and broccoli, I like to use my hands to just break it apart. I was going to use a Ziploc bag, but I figured I'm just going to save a little bit of plastic, some single-use plastic, and just put it in a large Tupperware like this. I am going to start working on a creamy ricotta cheese sauce for our pasta bakes. So I'm just going to start boiling up some cashews in some water, and then we're going to just soften that up a little bit. I'm then having Grace start on some bagel dough in our bread machine. We like to use the bread machine for a lot of our sort of kneading. It is coming in so handy and we love this machine. In a very short amount of time, I was able to chop up some cauliflower and broccoli and filled up 2 large Tupperwares filled with these vegetables. That's going to come in so handy whenever I need them. And then now I'm working on some mirepoix. So I'm chopping up some celery. I'm also going to chop up some onions and carrots, and I'm going to add it into my pot to get it ready for a tomato sauce. While we are chopping up some mirepoix, we may as well prep a whole other Tupperware filled with mirepoix. Carrots, onions, and celery, they are the base of any soups, any stews, really a lot of sauces as well. Alright, it's time to add our crushed tomatoes into our tomato sauce. We're going to keep it really, really simple by just adding the crushed tomatoes. And while we are meal prepping, we are also prepping for some lunches because, of course, it is lunchtime. Isaiah is helping me chop up some mushrooms, and he's going to help me with the sauce for lunch while we are going to continue meal prepping. On to some dinner prep for Trey. So I have the idea of making just a potato cabbage curried soup, and so I'm just going to chop up some cabbage right now. I've also got some onions and carrots and celery in our pot just to add extra vegetables and extra flavor. Then I'm going to just chop up some red potatoes. We love the waxy potatoes. Use the waxy potatoes. I know it costs a little bit more, but it really does taste great. I'm going to season our soup up with some cumin, some garam masala, some turmeric for that golden, yellowy, warm color. And now it is just the matter of sauteing all these down, adding a little bit of water, and cooking it down. I forgot to mention I did have some Swiss chard that I'm going to add here as well, just to bulk up the soup and add nutrients. And the collard greens really, not the collard greens, the Swiss chard really is just one of my favorite vegetables to use in a soup, and collard greens, because it just really cooks down nicely. It adds some greenery in it. I love it. Our bagel dough is nice and proofed a little bit. Now I don't usually proof it all the way. I kind of just mix it in the mixer and then give it about maybe half an hour to proof really quick. And then it is just ready to shape into bagels. Our kids have been loving bagels at home. Just fresh bagels are so good. But we're actually going to freeze this batch of bagels because we have planned it throughout the week. Grace stepped in because she is available to help me out, so she is going to take over the bagel making and the bagel shaping. I will of course be there to supervise, but she's going to take over most of the job. It's time to make our ricotta cheese for our pasta bakes. So I've got our boiled cashews. You can actually soak this overnight if you would prefer, but to make it faster, I just boiled them until they're soft, and we're going to add them into our blender. And I'm also going to use a block of firm tofu. You can use silken tofu, anything that you've got on hand, just use what you have. I'm crumbling the tofu just to make life easier for my blender. We're going to season it with a little bit of onion powder, some nutritional yeast for that yeasty, umami, cheesy flavor. Of course, we're going to salt it a little bit here. You can also add a clove of garlic if you have. Blend it up nice and smooth. I actually had to add a little bit of oat milk here just to help it go, and this is just homemade oat milk we've made previously, so I'm just going to use what we have. You can also use a little bit of water as well. We want it a nice thick consistency like this, and it is time to boil some pasta. I've got some mini penne here. I think that the shape is so cute. I love anything miniature, so that's what we're using. And then Grace is now boiling all of our bagels. If you've never made bagels, I highly suggest that you give it a shot. Now, I will have the recipe written in the description so you can make it yourself. I would recommend putting it in a hand mixer or a bread machine just to help you mix that dough. We only need to boil the bagels for about 20 seconds total, and then we're ready to bake them. Even though we are now in the day and age of digital everything, I still like to use my pen and paper to write everything down. So I'm just taking the time to write breakfast, lunch, and dinner down so I can eventually write it on a whiteboard or something so everyone knows what we're having for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. There is no questions. This also helps me visualize everything and see if there's any gaps in any of our week, which I actually had. I will talk about it in a future video. Time to put our pasta bakes together. So we've got our red sauce here, and we've also got our creamy cashew sauce and our mini penne. We're just going to layer this. You can definitely mix everything in a big bowl and just put it into a baking sheet, but I am going to do it this way because I just prefer to do it this way. I don't know why. It's just preference. I'm starting off with some red sauce on the bottom. I'm also going to do some pasta on the next layer. I've mixed a little bit of the tomato sauce in our cashew cream because it really adds delicious flavor. So I really like to do it this way. And rinse and repeat. We're kind of making a lasagna, but with another type or like a shape of pasta. So this way, that creaminess and that tomatoiness, I don't know, the layers just create an additional really fun aspect to eating this pasta. Onto our next pasta bake, we're going to make it a little bit different because I wanted to use kind of the same ingredients, but a variation of it. So we've got some black beans that I've rinsed and drained and rinsed. And then I'm also going to add a layer of barbecue sauce. I know it's going to be weird, but it's not weird. It actually tastes lovely. You know, kids can get a little bit bored of their food, or if we eat it very often or every single day the same thing. So I was just trying to, you know, make it a little bit different, but still using the same ingredients, same base ingredients. Moving on to our next dish. So I am going to make a really simple beans and rice. Well, really just the beans. To make this a little bit more bulky, I have added one little package of Beyond Beef just to add flavor as well. In this pot, I've got some onions and garlic, that Beyond Beef. We're gonna add some smoked paprika, some ancho chili powder, a little bit of cumin, onion powder, really anything that we have on hand, some thyme as well. We're gonna just brown all this up together with that Beyond Beef, and then we will add the beans once we are ready to go. Later on, I did have Grace add 1 can of diced tomatoes just to create some sauciness and really just stretch out this meal a little bit. If you are Chinese or Asian, you know that sauce and rice always can stretch out a meal. Next on our list, we've got some butter chicken. Without the chicken, of course. Really, it is a tomato-based coconut curry that our kids dubbed it as butter chicken. So I've made a separate video on how we make butter chicken for our dinner in the past. I will link that in the description. It is so easy to make. Today we're not going to use chickpeas. We're just going to use some vegetables. I've got some onions, carrots, celery, some cabbage, and some crushed tomatoes going in. We've also seasoned it with, of course, some cumin, garam masala, all these delicious warm spices. On the side, I am working on a pasta salad, so I've already boiled up some little rotini pasta. I'm also going to add at the very final step some peas. To finish off our curry in the other pot, we have added a can of full-fat coconut milk. And all we have to do now is just hand blend it. If you have never used a cordless hand blender, oh man, what a difference does this make. One of our YouTube friends gifted this to us, and I am just so grateful because I don't need to worry about, plugging it here and there. I could just use it whenever I need, and it's perfect. So thank you so much to our friend. You know who you are. We are so grateful. For our pasta salad, I'm going to transfer all of our pasta back into our pot just so it makes it easy for mixing. Our friends gifted us some homemade olives. Oh man, they are the best olives I've ever tasted. Trey's ever tasted. It is delicious. So we are adding some of that juice in here. We've also got some capers. For some sweet tang, I've added some balsamic vinegar. We're also going to add some mustard in here and some olive oil and salt to taste. With any cold salad, I always love to add red onions, just chopped fresh red onions in here. And then Grace has been working very diligently to pit our olives so we can add it to our pasta salad as well. What is that? Is it good though? Does it need anything else? After labeling everything for our freezer, it is time to make some baked items. So I've got two things that I'm working on. I've got a pumpkin loaf or pumpkin bread, and then I'm also going to make sort of like a chocolate peanut butter cake. I was going to make a brownie, but the brownie ended up not as fudgy as a brownie should be, so I just called it a cake. I'm going to chop up a little bit of walnuts here just to add a little bit of crunch to our pumpkin bread. I don't want to buy the already chopped walnuts or nuts because it ends up with a ton of like very fine sand almost, so I prefer it nice and chunky like this, so I like to chop up my own nuts. Initially, I was planning on making the pumpkin loaf into muffins just for ease of like individual, all the kids can grab a hold of a muffin at a time, but I decided to just make it a little bit easier on ourselves and just bake it into a loaf so we can slice it into slices of pumpkin bread. Our chocolate and peanut butter brownie or cake, whatever you want to call it, is going to be baked in a 9x9 baking dish. I'm going to swirl our peanut butter, so I'm just going to dollop a few dollops here and there of peanut butter in our cake, and then we are later on going to use a toothpick to create some swirls in the batter. Alright guys, this is the first time we've prepped this much food. Now, it's not fully prepped, but I do have a ton of prepped vegetables that is going to make life very simple and very easy every single day, every single morning. I like to keep things kind of fresh for Trey. I like to keep things fresh and cook fresh foods for Trey every single day. So I try to do that. However, I've got prepped a soup that I am going to freeze. We've got a ton of stuff for everybody. So chopped vegetables are really going to be very easy and simple to just, prep for lunches for Trey. We've got 2 pasta bakes. We've got a curried soup. We've also got buttered chicken, or like a vegan buttered chicken. Sort of like a chocolate peanut butter cake or brownie. We've got a loaf of pumpkin bread as well, some bagels, a pasta salad, beans and, well, the beans part for the beans and rice. I think we did quite good. Now, honestly, it did take a while. I really think that I could have shortened the time, but this is what it took today. I'm going to try to improve that for the next time, and I kind of have an idea of what we're going to be doing.
It took 5 hours.
It took, 4 hours. It took a while. It felt like a long time. Alrighty guys, we thank you so much for joining us today in this very real kitchen. We hope you subscribe if you're new, and we'll see you on the next video. Bye everybody.